And if this is to be trusted as a reference, I should be able to have the same reading on this and on this side. So what do I find here? Yes, if I zero the indicator on this side and run it lengthwise, it's a little bit higher, but within a couple of hundredths. And zero in again, but turning it to the other side, so taking it carefully over to the opposite side, you can see it's much lower. It's almost 1/10 of a millimeter, yeah, approximately. So yeah, it's down to a bit less, but at least substantially lower. 6, 7, 8. And I then don't know whether it's because of this surface, so I have to test that also to see at least if it's flat. It could be skewed, so not useful anyway, but if it's flat, that indicates at least that they've tried to keep this as a reference. And it is ground actually, or seems to be accurately machined, which I suppose these are also, but they have been flaked and molested, I would say. And as is evident, it only picks up at the far end. So you could of course scrape this down and start here, and maybe it'll be the easiest way. But if this was a true reference, I wouldn't have to deal with it, and it should be accurate. So some way I have to find out the amount of error. So if this is within, let's say, 0.5 hundredths, I mean 2/10 of an inch, then possibly okay to start scraping without doing what I consider the most work, namely take off the column. But if this is far off, well, yeah, then at least I need to find out where this deviation from that to that side is. That's a part of this game. That's why it's so important to learn this detective work before you start scraping. And I'm finding that my finest shim, which is 4/10 or 1/100th of a millimeter, that will pass under almost here with some resistance, so it's at least not more than that, and it just wants to go under. So the error is not large, and here it also can pass, but the bigger the next up 200ths or 0.8 thousandths of an inch will not go under. So I know it's not much, so I might be scraping that down. At least it doesn't matter if I do that, and then have a look at this again, and then I will test the dovetails to see how these also match up. So here I'm along scraping, and you can see there's a hollow middle section here, so it'll come in. But what if this plane I'm creating is not the same as underneath the column? Well, I'm taking a calculated guess here. The error I have measured is not significantly large, that it'll be substantially off, if it was off. So I guess just to prove my point, or for the benefit of this video series, and I'll remove the column at a later stage just to see. So at least we know that these planes are in, or these surfaces are in plane before I start scraping this anyway. And it's definitely improving. So you might wonder or ask yourself, you ruined that nice looking surface there. And then the whole point is, and what you ask, I have to ask myself, what is the purpose of this surface, if at all any purpose? It's relief. It can serve as a reference, but it won't serve as a reference by just looking nice. It has to be flat and in plane with the geometry or the other surface there. That's the whole purpose. Looking nice, well, it's nice looking nice, but it doesn't have to, in this case, mean anything. And of course the basic applies. You will wipe off both surfaces, the stoning this, and then you apply a straight edge or plane which is bigger than the plane you are testing. You hinge it, apply only, or don't apply any pressure at all really, it sits on this by itself, and then lift off. And as you can see, the area here is soon diminishing, or soon gone. And some of the pointing showing this was also done to make it, like, say, not a debate, but a point of being a detective here. And this mill was not in a couple of 100 kilos or 300 kilos, but 3 tons or more. And you just couldn't do away with the column. I mean, being smart to find out alternative ways. Probably not the most ideal way, but to work with what you have out in the field. I have not added any more bluing compound to the straight edge, so what's left there is a thin layer now, and I'm feeling it sucks down, so I know it's flat. And of course with this type of a tool, then you can measure down to the surface plate's accuracy, which might not, well, let's say 2/1000 of a millimeter, which is of course beyond what you can measure with the shim, of course, or just with a dial indicator, at least repeatedly, like in this situation. So now I'm pretty much covering all over, the exception of that small area there. At least now I know it's useful as a reference, as I said, with the possibility, chance that it should be in plane with that, but I risked that without knowing, and then I will just carry on here measuring. And as I said, I will open up the column foot just to see if my suspicion or hunch is correct. I could, of course, have skewed it a little bit, but I don't think much. And how much off is this small area? If I zero the indicator like now on this part over here, representing the scraped surface, and I go in here, I see it's hardly any deviation, or if any at all. See, the scraping in itself will of course fluctuate. I mean, the depth difference with within 100ths, so that's within the same. So I can safely leave that also as a witness mark of the original surface, really, and then know that it's within the let's say the plane that I wanted.